everyone. Today, 谢希文、彭彭、刘晓慧、沈妮田、朱希若、孙颖 we grouped together to make the presentation about China Eastern Airlines. This is our contents. And first, let me introduce something about this. China Eastern Airlines (CEA) was founded in 1988, and with the revenue of $17.3 billion and 75,000 employees, we can see CEA became the biggest airline in China, even in the world. CEA is mainly engaged in many aspects in international and domestic mail, cargoes, passengers, baggage transportation, general aviation, and other extended service. CEA is growing fast since they seize the opportunity of outbound tourism and increased the strategic investment in international routes. However, their operating profit, net profit, EPS all decreased over the past few years. The CEA has a few problems over the past few years. First is that they have become a strong competitor, both international and domestic. Second is that the fast growth of the domestic high-speed rail. It took away a large portion of the domestic passengers. Third is the slowing down of Chinese economy, and fourth is the deflation of RMB, and last one should be the rising oil costs and other costs. Facing this situation, in order to improve their financial performance, a financial risk management project is suggested in these three aspects. First is restructuring the financial policies, and second, restructuring the capital, and the last one is improving the debt paying abilities. Now let Sun talk more about this.
Thanks for my partner to introduce the background of China Eastern Airlines. Now, let's turn to part 2, financial risk management. First of all, I would like to introduce the objectives. In the beginning of 2020, we all know that the outbreak of the novel coronavirus pneumonia disease has increased downward pressure on the global aviation. However, this year is also the last year of China Eastern Airlines' 3-year shareholder return plan from 2018 to 2020. We can see from the graph on the right that the shareholder equity and the net profit were both increasing in 2018 and 2019. So we guess that in 2020, the amount should be increased too. According to the shareholder return plan, it's mentioned that the successful distribution of dividends needs to be conducted under 2 points. One is the company's good operating conditions. The other is sufficient cash flow. And we also treat them as our risk management objectives. Okay, let's turn to next page. We analyzed the financial data of the past 9 years to identify the financial risks faced by the China Eastern Airlines now, and we get 4 parts and 8 sub-risks. There are 4 parts such as fundraising risks, cash flow risks, investment risks, and operating risks. And each part has 2 sub-risks. In next page, I will tell you more details about the sub-risks. Okay, fundraising risks has two sub-risks. One is low solvency and the other is unstable debt structure. So you might wonder how we get them. Okay, I'll tell the truth. We get this sub-risks because of some index like financial index, operating index, economic index, and political index. Like we get low solvency because of high debt to assets ratio, and we get unstable debt structure because of high proportion of current liability. If the company keep low solvency, it may lead to capital chain breakage, capital insolvency, or even bankruptcy. And if the company keep unstable debt structure, maybe it will pay high debt every year. Once the fund allocation is unreasonable, there will be a problem of broken capital chain. Okay, turn to investment risks. Investment risks has two sub-risks. One is high cost liability and the other is declining profitability. High cost liability is because of we get operating and political index, which is the number of aircrafts. Because of high aircrafts, there will be high financial expenses and the operating profit decrease. And the declining profitability is because of high ROA. It will affect the judgment of investors and bring hidden risks to investments. Next part, I want to talk about some operating risks and cash flow risks. Operating risks has two sub-risks. One is low excess utilization and the other is the proportion of jet fuel cost. Low excess utilization is because of the financial index of turnover of total excess. Maybe it means that the China Eastern Airline has too many fixed assets such as airports and airplanes, so the sales revenue can reach the expected target every year. The proportion of jet fuel cost rises is because the jet fuel consumption rises or the international jet fuel price rises. We need to pay attention that if operating costs are too high, maybe there is a shortage of operating funds. Let's turn to cash flow risks. Cash flow risks contains about two sub-risks. One is high dependence on operating cash flow and the other is unreasonable investment scale. High dependence on operation cash flow is because we can see from the financial report that only net operating cash flow is positive. So since most aircraft are purchased by lease or loan, the shortage of operating cash flow will cause the company to fail to repay the loan to the bank or pay fuel costs. The last one is unreasonable investment scale. How we get it? Because we find that only the net operating cash flow is positive, so the net cash flow from investment activities is negative all the time. So we can see that the China Eastern Airline always do investment expansion, but oversized investment expansion will bring reduced profitability and over capability. Okay, thank you. That's my part. And welcome to my partners to introduce about the risk evaluation and selection. Thank you.
Hi, now we come to the part of risk evaluation and risk selection. Here we do the risk evaluation by risk matrix. To evaluate the identified risks, first we do the rating. We rank them in the order of priorities and in terms of the probability that the loss is likely to occur and the severity of the potential loss. Then we apply the number of rating respectively to the coordinate axis. Here we get the risk matrix. By the way, we can generally classify them into critical, important, and unimportant risk by rating of probability and severity. As what we can see, the identified risks here are falling into four quadrants, which are risk transfer, risk avoidance, risk tolerance, and risk mitigation. So we can accordingly determine what kind of risk management strategy should be applied. Here we select the risk avoidance quadrant to do the further risk management process. For this part of risk strategy, we are going to take different course of action to reduce the risk to a tolerant and acceptable level. So in this selected quadrant, the corresponding risk event for China Eastern Airlines are low solvency, which refer to high debt to assets ratio, high dependency on operation cash flow, high cost liability, as well as low assets utilization.
In order to find out the root causes of the selected risks, the fishbone diagrams are introduced in the following part. Firstly, China Eastern Airlines has low solvency and a high debt-to-asset ratio. It increased from 0.74 in 2018 to 0.75 in 2019, which was higher than 0.65 of industry index according to the annual report. There are many expired account receivables from guests and suppliers, which contribute to low asset. Also, since the company is under merger, reorganization, and strategy adjustment stage from 2016, they would like to improve their capacity and expand their routes. Thus, CEA purchase or lease large equipment and introduce advanced systems continuously. The large requirements towards capital led CEA to raise funds by loan. A high debt-to-asset ratio shows a weak ability to pay debts and a high risks to raise funds. So this project takes actions towards the highlighted causes. Secondly, China Eastern Airlines has a high investment risk due to its high cost liability. The number of CEA's planes goes continuously while it does not contribute benefits towards the company. In order to compete with other airlines, CEA expanded blindly in recent years. Also, Chinese government turns the aircraft import agreement into an administrative intervention to balance the trade surplus with the European Union and the United States. While the purchase, lease, and maintenance of aircrafts require big loans. Thus, the company has a high cost liability in this context. This project will take actions towards all the causes. Thirdly, according to the annual report, CEA's asset turnover ratio decreased from 0.48 in 2018 to 0.42 in 2019, which was lower than 0.5 of industry index. This was because the total assets, fixed assets, inventory, and accounts receivable increased, while the sales did not increase significantly. Besides, the utilization rate, such as airports and airplanes, is forecast to be low for the company due to the coronavirus. Their sales revenue level cannot reach the expected target. These reasons contribute towards low asset utilization and high operating risk. So this project will take action towards all the causes. Last but not least, China Eastern Airlines depends heavily on the operation cash flow, which can be regarded as a cash flow risk. In the process of CEA's transportation development, passenger and cargo transportation are the company's main source of income, and cash is the main method of money collection. Also, since the cost of aircrafts is expensive, the company usually buys aircrafts on a financial lease or loan. They need to pay principal and interest to the bank according to the lease fee every month, as well as the full cost. Thus, if the company has problem with their cash flow, they will be in the financial risk immediately, and this project will take actions towards the highlighted causes. Now, my group member will introduce about the actions.
Now I'd like to talk about the parts of the specific actions, including the main content of the actions and the schedule I expect to achieve the task. In the following pages, I will show you 4 types of risk and their strategies to be taken. More details of the actions will be described later when I expand the timeline. The first risk event we encounter is the low solvency. We think the company should choose to reduce the risk. In view of the root causes mentioned by my partners, I think the company can take the following 4 actions as it shows on the screen. The second risk is the high cost liability. In order to reduce the results and the bad impact that it brings, the company should select the emerging airlines and control the expansion speed. The third one is the low asset utilization. We also recommend the company to reduce the risk. On some special occasions, the company can take the reduction of agents into consideration. The last one is the high dependence on operation cash flow. For companies like China Eastern Airlines, we cannot avoid this risk, so we can do something to reduce the extent of dependence. Then, I will introduce the timeline that I set for China Eastern Airlines about the action changes. The whole project will last about 1 year from now on. There are several tasks that I consider to be the most important. The first one is about how to deal with low solvency, which is led by risk, management department, and financing department. I set a cycle to half a year, from May the 1st to October the 30th, or even longer. First of all, the assets and liabilities need to be audited and evaluated, which will take about 30 days. Secondly, seeking equity financing channels is needed at the same time. Thirdly, the company can transfer part of the equity publicly through the joint equity exchange. The above work must also meet the national legal process, so it will take at least half a year to basically complete. The second risk the company meets is the high cost liability, which is also led by risk management and financing department. I set at least 2 months to ease this problem. As shown in the graph, from May 1st to June 30th, the company should arrange the cost of maintenance and repair in the last quarter, analyze the composition of all costs, and find out unnecessary expenses. Besides, the company can find the professional companies and sign the annual service contract in the form of service outsourcing, which can not only ensure stability of equipment quality, but also reduce the operating cost. The third risk, which I consider to be the most sophisticated one, is the low asset utilization. This part should be led by the marketing department and assisted by the finance department. First, from May 1st to June 30th, the fixed assets should be checked and evaluated, and the usable and leased part should be included in the overall operation plan, so as to improve the utilization rate and leasing rate, and reduce unnecessary inventory and storage costs as well. Also, from May 1st to May 31st, the company should check the existing agents first by considering the sales performance, and then reduce some unnecessary agents. At the same time, the company should increase the publicity of the company's website so as to expand the market share. The last risk is the dependence on operating cash flow. This part of work needs multi-cooperation. After the CEO gives instructions, the marketing department, risk control department, and the finance department should complete the mission together. The time period for this action should be throughout the business process. The company should form a professional team to analyze the investment environment, so as to adjust the layout according to the changes in time. Now, let's take a rough look at this graph. This is an organizational chart about the distribution of responsibilities, which is already explained in details in my previous timeline.
In part 5, I would like to analyze the effectiveness of actions. First, I would like to show you the cost and expense analysis of CEA's Financial Risk Management Project, which is about the aviation oil cost control. At present, the fuel-saving projects that need additional cost investments are mainly the aircraft plus wingtip winglets, aircraft engine energy-saving transformation, and aircraft weight reduction. The 3 energy-saving benefits are analyzed. First, add optional wing. After adding winglets, the annual energy saving of a single aircraft is 0.05 times 10 times 365 equal to 182.5 tons. The refitting price of each aircraft is about 4 million yuan. Second is about aircraft weight loss. The fuel consumption of the aircraft per hour due to carrying extra weight is equivalent to 3% to 4% of the extra weight, which is calculated by 3.5% mean value, assuming that the weight of the aircraft is reduced by 1 kg. The annual fuel saving of a single aircraft is 1 times 10 times 365 times 0.035 equal to 127.75 kg. Light seats can be used for aircraft weight reduction, which is equivalent to 3 kg reduction for each seat, so the weight of the whole aircraft can be reduced to 450 kg and the annual fuel saving is 57.649 tons. Third, the engine modification. The annual energy saving of a single aircraft is 0.0125 times 10 times 365 equal to 45.625 tons. The price of energy savings retrofit for a single energy is about 10 million yuan, and that for each aircraft is about 20 million yuan. Table 1 shows the investment and annual oil saving of the above three projects. Second, I would like to show you the economic benefit analysis of CEA's financial risk management project. For airlines, one of the most important goals is to expand business activities, increase business revenue, minimize business expense and costs, and increase economic profits. In terms of financing risk mitigation, improved solvency can avoid sustained debt growth and reduce the risk of small changes, and optimize the proportion of long-term and short-term liabilities can make the proportion more reasonable and avoid resource waste caused by fear of risk. In terms of investment risk control, reasonable control of expansion speed can replace the pure aircraft purchase and introduction by enterprise merger and acquisition. Choose a reasonable investment object can directly use the roots of the acquired companies and effectively expand the company's network layout. In terms of the operational risk control, strengthen the management of accounts receivable can improve the turnover rate and reduce the risk of bad debts. In terms of cash flow risk control, improve the fund management mechanism can reduce the risk of capital management caused by improper investment management, and strengthen the management and control of exchange rate and interest rate can reduce the impact of exchange rate fluctuation on the company's cash flow.
Let me make the conclusion of this project. In general, CEA offers a typical case study of how a Chinese company faced multiple threats and risks after its rapid expansion. Many of the risks that CEA needs to against are currently faced by other domestic companies. One of the lessons that can be drawn from this case is prioritizing. When a company needs to address the variety of issues, it's necessary to rank them in importance, especially because many minor issues are dependent upon a major issue, and the minor issue will automatically disappear when you solve the major issue. In addition, this is important to have a clear action plan and assign the duty to right people, so the management could keep a better track of the implementation of the project and ensure its efficiency. Last but not the least, it is always important to reveal the root causes of each problem before setting out to solve the issue, because otherwise the solution plan would only be superficial. Here is our reference, and thank you for your listening.